Hi everybody, welcome to the Castle Rock piece. This is going to be done on a piece of 2 foot by 1 foot 3/4 inch plywood. That's 24 inch by 12 inch. This is actually a leftover, a scrap if you will, from a larger piece that I did. I had to buy a full sheet of plywood and then I had it cut to the dimensions I needed at the home improvement store. So they have specialized equipment to be able to do that. I don't, so it doesn't cost me any more, so I might as well do it. So this is based on an area near Castle Rock, Colorado. Castle Rock is halfway between Denver and Colorado Springs, right on I-25 in, you could call it north central Colorado, definitely on the front range of the Rockies. So this is actually Castle Rock. Castle Rock is a solid piece of rock, and it's of course been weathered away by time. So it sits up here on a hill all by itself. And this is actually a flagpole that is there in real life. And the other thing that I did not draw in, just I think the scale is going to prevent it, I just did that to be fun, is they actually have a metal framed star and they actually put lights on that. And during the holiday season, they light that up. So that shines all over town. It's kind of cool. So anyway, so this is the Castle Rock. Behind that is a ridge, and I know that line looks really straight, but if you look at it in reality, that's really what it looks like. It's almost dead level until you get to this escarpment where it runs downhill into the valley. Same thing over here. This one in real life is not as level as the other one, so you can see there's a little bit of contour to it, but it also slopes down into the valley. So my idea here is to lay the wood strips on an angle, demonstrating, where if I were to lay it on a 45 degree this way, it indicates everything's pushing up. This I'm going to do the other way, so you get the feel that it's descending down into the valley. This area down here is a valley, and then this area right here, this is actually Pikes Peak. Now in reality, that's about 40 miles away. So the scale of it is just enormous. If you've never been there, I encourage you to go. It's beautiful, beautiful. Take the cog railway up. You won't regret it. So the challenges here is what type of material to use. My initial thought is to use either 3/8 inch or 1/2 inch wood strips. Now, I generally don't like working with wood strips that are that narrow because it makes it more difficult to work with my power tools safely. So I'm gonna have to make a decision there. The other decision is, do I want to do the mountains in the background in wood strip also, and then paint the sky, or do I want to stop the wood strips here at the top of this ridge and then paint the mountains? So I'm gonna have to make some decisions here pretty quick. I sketch the picture out in advance, and I always use pencil. I used Sharpie early on, and I learned the hard way why you don't do that. Number one, Sharpie is almost impossible to sand out. You basically have to take a layer of material off. So that can affect your picture. It will give you marks that shine through any paint or finishes that you put on it. So I always do it in pencil, and then I use either a click eraser, which is kind of a soft white eraser, or I use a pink chunk eraser to erase the lines, and I'll redraw them like I want them. So decisions have to be made. Next, we'll prepare some stock because we're going to need some wood strips to complete this piece. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to crank the blade up where I can see it. There we go. All right, I'm going to take my piece of stock, and I generally try and line it up where it's just above the height of the piece that I'm working with. So I think that's going to be sufficient for height. Now we need to get our width. So I know I want 3/8 inch wide strips. I'm going to take our rip fence and our tape measure. Now, mind you, the table saw is unplugged. What I normally do is I will put my tape measure on the inside edge of one of the teeth. and I'll slide my fence over to meet that. Like I say, the table saw is unplugged. You can call it overcautious if you want, but I still have all my digits and I'm trying to keep it that way. All right, that looks pretty good. So I'm gonna lock that down and let's make some cuts. All right, so this is my secret sauce. This is quadrupolate steel wool dissolved in vinegar. And this is red wine vinegar with Mother's. No, apple cider vinegar with Mother's. So this is an acidic solution. So what happens is you can see that's really, really dark. Oh, and look, there's some Mother's right there. So the Mother's is an enzyme that's in the vinegar, and all right, did you catch that little cheat there? The heat gun will help dry that vinegar solution and make that metal go ahead and either start rusting or oxidizing and turning color. You can see, I hope you can see, there's some little splotches here. It looks like maybe where the vinegar didn't get down to the wood. So I'm going to put another coat on here, and I will go ahead and see if that covers that up. And it's going to turn it a little bit darker, which I'm okay with. And then I'll finish the sides and then I'll come back. All right, so that is just the coat on the front. Now you remember what this looked like when we started, right? Brand new piece of cedar. But on this side, it looks like it's 100 years old. The steel wool and vinegar right and fit together, and it doesn't make sense to do all that work, and then if you make a mistake on the sky, not to be in a position where you can undo it. So I think I'm going to backtrack on my process, and I'm going to go ahead and paint this sky in. I'm going to paint it probably up to the pencil line at least, and then I will mask that off, and then that will provide the foundation to put the strips down. Or it'll make the picture more ready for strips. I've thought about the mountains, and I'm still not sure if I'm going to wood strip those or if I'm going to paint them. But either way, I can go ahead and paint the sky and mask that off and kind of cut it to match the outline here. And then if I decide to paint the mountains later, I don't have to worry about accidentally painting the sky. So I think that's what I'm going to do on this one. So I mentioned that I wanted to paint the sky first before I put down any wood strips. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to do a heavier outline than what I have right now of the mountains, Pikes Peak. I'm only concerned with this top portion because that's going to delineate the sky, or that's going to be the border with the sky. All right, and what I'm using here, it's a rigid palm sander with 220 grit. It's a vibratory sander, not to be confused with a disc sander or a rotary sander. Hopefully nobody gets motion sick from the fall you almost took. Yeah, there we go. All right, I'm gonna try and not to knock the camera over as I'm doing this, but keep in mind I'm learning right along with you, so who knows. I'm gonna turn this around where the sanded edge is gonna be a little bit closer to the edge and away from all the other stuff. So here we go. All right. Let's take a look here. All right, that's nice and smooth. I like that. And somewhere around here, I have a the head of a broom, and I use that to sweep off sawdust, dirt, anything else that might get on the piece. It just helps keep it a little bit cleaner. There we go. All right. A little brush here. Okay, so you can still see, hopefully, the outline of the mountains. So I'm going to go back in and I'm going to put those back in lightly. And then that way I'll have a nice border to work with as I'm painting the sky. I'm going to flip this back over. Here we go. It's time to put the first strip down. Word to the wise, if you're going to try this yourself, this first strip is very, very important. If this one is off center, if it's off square, if it doesn't align with the edges, you're going to fight that the whole rest of the way on the picture until it's complete. So what I normally do to keep from having to trim the edges, which you can do if you need to, but I make sure that that first strip that I put down is square with the edge, in this case the left edge. Then also make sure that it's perfectly flush with that bottom edge too, and that way everything stays nice and square, and it'll be a lot easier to fit the pieces together. So here we go. I use Gorilla hot glue sticks, and I have the Gorilla hot glue gun. That's all I use. There's no magic here.